Hi guys, this is Carolina Varsity. We're in our 2015 season. We are at the regional finals, and we got a real big ball game here. This is the 2AA Western Regional Final. We got number 2 East Lincoln going over to play number 1 Monroe. I'm Dale Ross.
Jeff Miller.
Anthony Perkins.
Anthony, get us rolling.
The L Western 2A finals feature, as you said, number 1 seeded Monroe going up against number 2 seeded East Lincoln. Here again, the chalk played out for this bracket. They will place, whoever wins this game Friday night will face the winner of the Bunn-Clinton game down east. Monroe comes in with a perfect 14-0 record, as does East Lincoln. Monroe hails from the Rocky River 2A Conference, East Lincoln from the Southern District 7 Conference. Monroe got to the finals by beating Forbush 55-7 in the first round, Maiden 58-20 in the second round, and last week Mountain Team Franklin they crushed them 50-7. And East Lincoln has gotten to this point by defeating number 15 seed Smoky Mountain 54-7, Wilkes Central 47-6, and last week East Burke out of the South Mountain Athletic 2A, 3A conference by a score of 35-14. Monroe comes in averaging 45 points per game compared to East Lincoln's 47 points a game. Monroe's given up 11 points per game compared to East Lincoln's 17 points per game. They have both faced 2 common opponents in Hunter Huss and Maiden. Both Monroe and East Lincoln defeated both of these opponents. Hunter Huss was defeated by Lincoln by a score of 45-0. East Lincoln beat them almost by the same identical margin, 49-6. Monroe beat Maiden by a score of 58-20. East Lincoln by almost the same identical difference defeated Maiden by a score of 56-28. Rushing leaders for Monroe are Braxton Knox coming in about 91 yards per game. Chaz Surratt, which unfortunately will not be playing this week because of dislocated shoulder last week. He'd come in. He would have come into the game with over 103 yards per game average. Zephaniah Walls, the quarterback for Monroe, he's come in tossing the ball over around 209 yards per game. Chaz Surratt was averaging about 271 yards per game. But again, he won't be playing Friday night. Statistically, as a team, Monroe's coming in with about 440 yards per game, 231 on the ground, 209 in the air, and almost identical. East Lincoln coming in with 443 yards compared to Monroe's 440 yards. East Lincoln was getting 174 with their ground attack, 268 with their passing attack. To me, the big difference in this game is going to be the absence of Chad Surratt. Before he was hurt, I would have given East Lincoln, although they were seeded number 2, one and number 2 seed. Initially, by the way, it came to a coin toss. So I would have given them an excellent shot to repeat. And of course, they've still got a shot because they're playing this. They're still playing. But Chaz's absence, I think, is going to show up this week whenever they go up against a top-rated opponent. And they are going up against a very tough Monroe opponent who has took care of business this year, and they played just as tough a schedule as East Lincoln has, and they are defeating their opposition. They're taking care of business in the same way that East Lincoln is doing, as the numbers show. But when you compare those numbers, though, you got to take out a bunch of them for East Lincoln because of Chaz Surratt's absence, and because you don't know. And now the guy that came in, I forget his name, but the quarterback that came in last week for Surratt, he done a very top-notch job. But they weren't playing a Monroe last week either. And so, we'll see Friday night, but because of the absence of Surratt, I've got to make East Lincoln underdogs this week, and I'm saying about 6 points.
Yeah, it looks like Marcus Graham.
Marcus Graham, that was his name.
He's a freshman. Just to roll things here, the report, Carolina Varsity High School football report, which does not take into account the loss of Chaz Surratt. It's just based on what has happened throughout the entire season, summed and averaged, and however that algorithm works. Has Monroe defeating East Lincoln 35-30, so a very close one-score ball game, exactly what I think we would expect. here I am, Chaz, going to finally possibly make a game that you would be in and you're not playing. Because this is probably up towards the top of my list of games to attend, because it is local to me and within reach of making. So it's on a short list. Just a few things to note. I thought it was pretty impressive how Monroe defeated Franklin, a team that the previous year put them out of the playoffs,
Right.
as they and East Lincoln were kind of heading towards each other, and everybody thought those two teams were going to converge, and Franklin knocks them out, and then I guess Monroe exacted a little bit of revenge with a big 50-7
Yeah,
win.
big win.
Monroe is ranked number 1 in the Carolina Varsity Football Report. They're also ranked number 1 in Max Preps. East Lincoln's ranked number 2 in the Carolina Varsity Football Report. This is in 2A. And in Max Preps, they're ranked number 3. Who was number 2? Did you?
No, I do not know. I think it was a team from down east.
Or Shelby? No, this
No, okay, it was Shelby.
was it maybe Shelby?
It was Shelby. It was Shelby.
Yeah.
It was Shelby.
So we got two good ball teams coming against each other. The loss of Chaz Surratt, I think, is huge for East Lincoln. And having to have a freshman step in, certainly played well last week, but now we're going against the number 1 team, and obviously one of the favorites. These were your 2 favorites for a state champion. Actually, these were probably the 1 and 2 favorite teams throughout probably the whole season.
Right.
People looked at both of these teams as one of these are going to be your state champion. Now a freshman's got to step in and take over the helm. And I think in a game like this, it's kind of hard to think you might be able to revert to a run game when you got that other team that's a pretty high scoring team in Monroe, and the ability to put the ball up. They got speed all over the place. This is one of the fastest teams you'll see play football. They can put points up quickly, so that kind of makes it difficult, I think, on a freshman. So I think the reports 35-30 is probably now has to be a little bit bigger margin. You have to say a good solid 7. Monroe has to be with the loss of quarterback, somewhere between a 7 to a 10-point favorite, I would think.
I think based on that game I saw in Monroe when they played Hunter Huss and beat them 45-0. Monroe has tons of speed, and they are very physical at the point of attack. And East Lincoln is just going to have to match their speed and match their physicalness in the trenches in order to have a chance. And now that Chaz Surratt is going to be absent, it'll be up to the supporting casts for the young quarterback like Sage Surratt and Cameron Dollar, to get open quickly, and running back Colton Banks to get some, crunch some yards up in the rushing game. And, I have to give Monroe, a 14-point difference in this one. I got to favor them by 14 points due to the absence of Chaz Surratt, and I might be being nice about it too.
Yeah, that's a lot of offense out of their game plan now.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. I mean, that's undeniable. But by the same token, I mean, this really makes for a good Cinderella story, though. Stop and think about it. I mean, you got here a guy got as a freshman coming in, replacing what has really been a superstar for the last 4 years at East Lincoln, and I hope the guy performs really well. I really do. I hope he does, and I hope he makes a good ball game out of it. But offensively, of course, I realize that you can't really go this week by what's happened this year because the personnel's changed.
It's changed, yes.
But offensively, they're a push with each other. There's only a 1-point differential, and actually East Lincoln's got that advantage. So, I'm sorry, 2-point differential. But the differential statistically is not on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball, where East Lincoln's average, giving up a touchdown, almost a touchdown
Right.
more per game. So, you know, if East Lincoln is going to have a chance to win this game, their defense has got to play lights out Friday night.
They will definitely have to play
Yes.
lights out to keep them in the ball game.
Exactly.
I don't think there's any doubt about that.
If y'all are able to somehow get it closer than the 14-point differential and even somehow miraculously beat them, I'll eat crow.
Yeah. So if we're looking at 2A teams with toughest schedules, and I'm just going to see here where if either of these teams fall into the top 20, and they do not. So I'm sorry, it was just a stat I was going to look at to see. I do believe that Monroe's schedule has been a little bit tougher, and that's why you see that slight edge in the reports numbers for Monroe. But when you got your quarterback who has accounted for 50 touchdowns in the air and 15 on the ground, so he has accounted for 65 touchdowns. That's just tremendous. You know, you're looking at a kid that's accounted for 3,500 yards passing, a little over 3,500 yards passing, and he turns around and puts up 1,300 yards on the ground.
Right.
Just tremendous amount of offense that has gone. I hear the Cinderella story part. We'll see. A freshman stepping into a big game like this against an opponent like Monroe.
Exactly.
That's the key. Is this is Monroe. This is a quite a bit different team they're facing than Eastburg. We'll see. Hey, kid, step up, play football. Should be a great ball game. They play on the carpet in Monroe. Got a great stadium. That field is just built for speed. So East Lincoln, bring your speed shoes with you. Thanks. Have a good ball game.